Today I fucked up by eating tacos before eating out my date. So I get onto a dating app after a while being single. I found this really amazing girl who is very like-minded, which is rare for me. The first and second dates were great, and we're mostly just talking and getting to know each other. Today, on the third date, I decided to make tacos because tacos. Fresh cilantro, onion, peppers, and freshly chopped jalapenos. Dinner goes great, vibes were perfect, and we head upstairs. Things get heated, clothes come off, and we get to it. After a while, she suddenly stops me and says, my vagina is burning. We look at each other, confused. Then it clicks. Jalapenos. Beard. Capsaicin delivery system engaged. Instead of romance, I basically pepper sprayed her downstairs. Cue both of us laughing way harder than we should have. Did we have intercourse? Nope. Did we bond over a truly absurd situation for a first hookup? Absolutely. Too long did not read. Cooked with jalapenos, didn't wash properly, gave my date a burning cat face. I had habanero wings for lunch. That night my wife and I both paid, despite my hands being washed multiple times between lunch and bed and a shower. Not only was she burning from the foreplay, but by the time she realized it, I was inside her, and when I took it out I started burning. We both got in the shower immediately. Had tacos, then was like, I still want more taco. I mean, laughing after an awkward situation in bed, that can lead to the strongest relationships. I consider this an absolute win. LOL, you ate a taco before you ate out a taco. Call that Taco Tuesday, taco face with tears of joy. Index pointing up, this guy eats tacos. Today I fucked up by trusting a wedding guest with an iron at the venue. Our wedding was amazing, like ceremony, the dancing part all perfect, but of course something had to go wrong. One guest decided to iron their outfit in the bridal suite. Instead of using an ironing board, they left the hot iron face down on the linoleum floor. Cue the smell of burning plastic followed by a giant scar right in the middle of the room. Venue manager saw it and immediately said the whole section has to be replaced. And yep, like, guess who gets the bill? Us. Right after dropping all our savings on the wedding itself. The day was beautiful, except for the part where my wallet now has to buy the venue a new floor. Too long did not read. Guest left a hot iron face down on the venue's linoleum, which burned a giant hole, and venue making us pay for a full floor replacement. You are passing the cost on to the guest, correct? If you know who the irresponsible guest was, you might mention it to them, because it's not right that you have to pay for their mistake. Yes, the venue was in your name, and you were responsible, but it's not right that this guest just increased your bill. Of course, I hope whomever the guest is, you wouldn't ruin your relationship with that person over finances. You didn't, foo. The guest did. They should pay for their damages. This is exactly why more and more venues are requiring liability coverage these days. I went through something similar, thankfully not as expensive, and learned about third-party wedding insurances like Brightco that specifically handle this kind of stuff. Would have saved me thousands in headaches. Really feel for you though, like, hopefully you can work something out with the venue, or maybe even pursue the guest for damages. What a nightmare way to remember what should have been your perfect day. Easy solution. Guest has to pay. I would not even start discussing that. This is not an oopsie, this is more like a, how fucking dare you fucking idiot, didn't your mother teach you some common sense? I would have offered to pay immediately. Okay, I am insured for shit like that. Sorry about that dark memory spot on your wedding. At least that is something you can punish the guest the rest of his life with. Every single time you meet. Hey, did you let the iron cool down before leaving? Why isn't the guest who did the damage pitching in for that? They know it's their responsibility. Who does laundry tasks at someone else's wedding, anyway? Today I fucked up by paying a professional $500 to help an ant colony colonize my house. Too long did not read. Hired a pro to get rid of ants. Their spray treatment scared the ants so bad they launched a hostile takeover of my property, and I was their unknowing financier. I guess this actually started a few weeks ago, but I'm living with the consequences now. It began with a few sugar ants in the kitchen. Being a responsible adult, or so I thought, I decided to not just grab a can of Raid. No sir. I went full nuclear option and hired a well-reviewed, eco-friendly pest control company. They showed up, a very professional guy in a uniform walked around my foundation for 10 minutes, sprayed some magic lemon-scented liquid, and handed me a bill for $500 American. I felt so mature. I had solved a problem. I had supported a local business. I patted myself on the back. The piece lasted a week. It started with a single ant on the bathroom counter. A straggler, I thought. Then two. Then a conga line from the baseboard to the toothpaste. I went to the kitchen. My pantry, which had been clear, now looked like a tiny six-legged interstate highway system. There were more ants than before. Way more. In a panic, I called the company. They came back, seemed a little confused, and sprayed again. This should do it. Spoiler alert, it did not do it. Feeling like a fool who just lit another $500 on fire, I fell down a Google rabbit hole. And that's when I learned the horrifying truth. I discovered that when you spray and kill the worker ants you see, you don't kill the nest. Instead, you send the colony into a panic mode called budding. Basically, they think they're under attack, and their survival instinct is to split the colony into multiple pieces and send out new queens to create satellite nests. I didn't pay $500 to eliminate my ant problem. I paid $500 to become the ant version of a paranoid doomsday prepper. I funded their strategic dispersal. I am the reason they have established a thriving foothold in my bathroom, pantry, and probably the walls. I am the unwilling venture capitalist for Ant Empire LLC, and business is booming. Now I'm broke, my house is lost to the tiny invaders, and my only solace is the profound shame of having actively made my own problem infinitely worse. The only thing getting wiped out is my bank account. Most pest companies will respray within 3 months for free. Just get a dozen or so of the taro ant bait things and put 3 or 4 in each room they're in. They'll be gone in like 3 days. Edit. Also, if you can, follow the trail back to where they're getting in and seal the hole /gap/crack after you stop seeing them. Next step. Release the ant eaters into your home. Yeah, most of the time you want to leave bait they'll bring home and wipe out the colony. It's also helpful to spread bait pellet around the yard. Not really an eco-friendly option, but it works. Even with roaches, raid will kill the ones out and the colony will survive. You want to leave bait so they go die at home and then the roaches eat the poisoned carcass. Shouldn't pest control have known this could happen and explained it to you and tried to counter it? Or am I overestimating the competency and knowledge of pest control? Advian gel bait. It's like $30 on Amazon, and it will typically eliminate the problem within a day if you apply it both inside and outside the house. Today I fucked up by eating my Taco Bell too fast and getting the most bizarre injury of my life. It was the middle of the afternoon, and my evening work shift was quickly approaching, and I hadn't eaten all day. I had to work the evening shift and wait on my wife to get back home, since we swapped taking care of our toddler while the other works/runs errands. She asked me what I wanted from Taco Bell as she was heading home, so I told her to get me a chalupa box with hot sauce, which she did. She got home, and I was a few minutes late leaving for work already. I have a 45-minute commute to and from work each way. So as I'm gathering my things to leave, I'm walking around eating my Taco Bell rather hastily. Being that tacos are easily handled with one hand, I thought it best to multitask and finish getting ready as I hungrily feast on the delicious corporate Tex-Mex food I'd been eagerly awaiting. I believe I'd already eaten the burrito and had started on the chalupa when I sat on the bed and started putting my socks on, which is difficult with one hand, but I was managing just fine until suddenly I was taking a bite and the corner of the waxy paper wrapper went into my right eyeball. Feeling this, I reflexively turned my head, at which point the paper edge sliced delicately along the cornea, giving me a paper cut in my eyeball. The pain was rather excruciating, much worse than just having something get in my eye, but I wasn't positive that it was a cut at first. Part of it was denial that something so horrific could even be possible, but deep down I knew that pain was more than a little paper poke. Despite being traumatized and in a most unique and unexperienced pain up until this point in my life, I still had to go to work because I'm not in a position financially to take time off. I spent the entire evening trying to keep that eye closed as I was driving and as I worked because sunlight and blinking were both very painful and my vision had become so blurry out of that eye it was practically useless anyway. I got through my shift and got home knowing I'd have to have it looked at because the symptoms were not getting better at all. When I went to the doctor, it was confirmed that the Taco Bell wrapper had in fact cut the cornea with about a 1.5 millimeters long cut. The doctor seemed amused at the story and said he'd never even heard of such a thing happening. He gave me some eye drops and an eye patch and said it should heal up on its own. He suggested I don't do anything to strain my vision, like live streaming gaming content, which I usually do daily, but admittedly I did so anyway and just wore an eye patch throughout. I spent the next few days working with the eye patch, and having my co-workers calling me One-Eyed Willie and taunting me with Taco Bell wrappers mercilessly. After about day 2 the sensitivity to light had diminished, and by day 3 the soreness from blinking had gone away, but the blurriness was still there until about the 5th day. It's been a week now, and it's as if it never happened, aside from the psychological damage, of course. Just a word of advice. Either remove the paper wrapper from your tacos, or be vigilant in not having the wrapper paper cut your eyeball. It sucks. Too long did not read. I gave myself a paper cut on my eyeball with a Taco Bell wrapper because I was rushing to get to work, and then had to wear an eye patch for a few days. I worked at a general surgeon's office. We had someone puncture a hole in his larynx when he didn't chew up his Dorito well enough. He spent a few days in ICU after that, and eventually healed enough to stop seeing the surgeon on a regular basis. I was at a restaurant that had thick paper napkins folded into triangles. I felt a sneeze coming on, so I quickly grabbed the napkin and sneezed into it. I managed to poke my eye with the pointy napkin while bringing it up to my nose. I ended up at urgent care, which confirmed that I had a nasty scratch on my cornea. The stupidity of it hurt as much as the pain. Wow, Taco Bell usually hurts the other end. I tore my iris last year, so I do have some idea what this is like, and I honestly can't believe you still went to work. Setting the pain level aside, those are your eyes. The consequences of permanent damage on that part of your body is so disproportionate. I cannot fathom how it didn't seem like an emergency. That said, glad you're doing better. I was leaning over to pick something up on my porch. Put my hand on the base of a scooter to stabilize myself. The weight of my body and the angle of the scooter jammed the handle of the scooter into my eyeball. Took a chunk off of my eye. They numbed it to look at it for damage assessment. Then they refused to numb it anymore because it makes it so you don't realize if you hurt it further. One of the most painful weeks of my life. I was waiting for the hot sauce join the foo, but lucky mostly, for you OP.